we at least want to, we're committed to the truth. Okay, so if it's if it's 2,500, or let's say I guess it's being reported between 2,500 and 30,000 is fair. Because if you're committed to the truth, then, that's just all there is to it. I've got a problem with the ATF. Well, I've got a lot of problems with the ATF. Ruby Ridge is one. Waco is another. And, them putting between 2,500 and 30,000 firearms into the hands of dangerous Mexican drug gangs is yet another. So, we'll often kind of squabble, or people will kind of squabble over the details.
Right.
Like 9/11. Well, you know what? Guess what? I'm dissatisfied with everything about 9/11. I don't care if it was an inside job. I'm dissatisfied. And there's enough dissatisfaction to go around to totally justify me and you and everybody else in this country for being dissatisfied with just about everything. So I don't care if it was an inside job. I don't care if it was 5 firearms given to Mexican drug gangs. You heard me? You know what I mean? Like, here's 5 tomahawks. We got a problem. You're the ATF. You're the FBI, and potentially, from what this story is saying, you're the DOD. You're the Justice Department.
Yeah, the Justice Department oversees ATF.
Yeah, so how about this big steamy pile of shit sandwich?
From what I've read on that, I actually read the National News article, and I came across another article, and I think it was that Andrew Breitbart website, biggovernment.com. Mm-hmm. So, both of these went from this thing happening where all these guns got into the hands of people that shouldn't have had guns, especially coming from stateside, to saying that it was this conspiracy to make all this gun violence so the American people will somehow decide that they don't want guns, and this whole thing.
Yeah, lose their Second Amendment.
By Obama, and I'm just... I don't know. Unless these people have some kind of crystal ball where they can really foresee a bunch of unlikely events occurring based on this one thing, I just don't know how you can make a leap like that. I just think it's... I'm a ardent believer in Occam's razor.
Okay.
And, Occam's razor, right?
Yeah, the easiest explanation is usually the right one?
Yeah, and the way I look at it is they put together an operation that they didn't think out for shit, because what the intent of this was, it was sort of like a reverse sting, you know what I mean? Where they wanted these gun runners to buy these guns so they can follow them and see where these guns end up. But the problem is that they never got clearance from Mexico to track them once they crossed the border.
I'm not with you on this one, man.
It's fine. I just don't see... do you go all the way through with the Obama...
Well, am I willing to entertain that idea? Yeah, I would say yeah. You know what I mean? Am I going to come out here and use my podcast as a vehicle to drive that one home? No. Because I don't know that for sure, but I think, people have this normalcy bias, you know what I mean? And you can actually see people seamlessly. So it's actually not what you see, it's what you don't see. You'll see someone seamlessly go on denying, and then as soon as it becomes accepted into the realm of common belief, they just seamlessly say, well, oh, okay, I was wrong. And you're like, well, wait a minute, you said I was crazy, you said I was insane. You would not, you totally rejected this, and then you just seamlessly, accept, and that's normalcy biased. You know what I mean? So I think that a lot of people suffer from that, and here's another thing, a lot of times people will hearken back to the Holocaust, and then as soon as you do that, you just people get all, they just start scoffing. Oh, I'm so sure you're gonna, and then they become spontaneous Holocaust deniers. You know what I mean? Because not denying that it happened, but well, that's the point. It happened, so that the events of the Holocaust didn't lead up to people be like, oh man, we gotta save ourselves from that Holocaust that's gonna happen in a year. I mean, God, I gotta find the time to get out of here. And then they just lazily fell into the event called the Holocaust because it was like this regularly scheduled fucking thing that was gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, people failed to realize that it was within the realm of possibility that they could be herded onto fucking cattle cars and taken to a fucking concentration camp where they're gassed to death. I mean, that's a reality. That happened. You know what I mean?
No, I totally understand, but I guess the...
And I'm not yelling at you, Mr. C.
No.
Look, here's Robert's razor. Okay, is it within the realm of possibility? And if it is, I'm gonna take a look at it. No,
that's fine. I'm not saying it's completely implausible, but I guess the rational part of me thinks, okay, if let's say my next door neighbors, who are not good people, all of a sudden decide that they're going to have an arsenal in their house, the last thing I would want to do is enact a law that made it absolutely impossible for me to have an arsenal in my house. So, we already know, even on these conspiracy sites, I mean, let's go with their numbers, just, to make the argument a little more crystal. Let's say it is 30,000 guns, right along the Mexico-Texas border that are all in the hands of wrong people right now. Are people going to be like, holy shit, I'm so afraid, let's go get rid of the guns we legally have so we can do absolutely nothing? And especially in that part of the country. I see
what Texas. You're... No, but here's the thing, though, is that it wasn't a part of the plan for the 30,000 guns or whatever to get into the hands of criminals. Okay, what was meant to make headlines was the murder as a result of those guns, without drawing attention to the fact that they actually were, to use the ATF's own words, walked across the border. And walking, that was the term that they purposefully used for the guns they allowed to go across the border. It was called walking them, so it happened.
That's a pretty expensive way to make that story, though. Who can say, let's say some border agent just got killed and this operation had never happened, and if that was their goal, why can't you just say, oh, these, I mean, I don't see why funneling the guns and that amount of them is so integral to the argument.
To the taking away of the Second Amendment?
Right. I mean,
here's the thing. If it,
gun instead of 30,000.
I'm sorry.
Had an American-made gun,
Say that again.
Or, you could have just had one gun, pinned to that crime to make that argument, you know what I mean?
Well, and ultimately there was one gun pinned to that crime, but it takes, 2,500 for that one gun to then happen. It's already been confirmed, at least reportedly so, that I can reasonably assure you and listeners that 2 border agents have been killed with guns that were allowed to walk by an organization which is charged with keeping they are charged with
controlling the flow of guns.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So they facilitated the arming of people that ultimately ended up killing 2. Now, it's reported that there has now been 3 agents and 5 police officers, which can... that's what it has been reported. That's what I've heard. Now, the thing is that if this were... I can totally see this... I mean, I could totally see it being somewhere in between either side of the spectrums where we're coming from. You know what I mean? I could definitely believe that this is an agenda. Look, there's an agenda to disarm the American people. I mean, there just is. There's most certainly people out there who are anti-gun.
Yeah, but I don't...
And they are working towards, through gun laws, of restricting Americans' ability to have guns. I mean, where I'm at in my situation, I could not go out and buy a handgun right now to save my life, literally. because for a variety of reasons, none of which I don't want to go into it. Okay? But there's no good reason why I shouldn't own a gun right now. Put it that way. And yet I can't. If I were to go to Michigan, I could. Okay, and that's as specific as I'm going to get. All right, it's because it's a border thing. All right, but so the thing is that I have an essential human right to defend myself, and that includes owning a gun. And right now, a right that the Founding Fathers was important enough to include in the Bill of Rights, I am excluded from, and I have done nothing wrong. And yet the government will arm its police force and militarize it. I mean, with the creation of SWAT teams and things like that. I mean, we are literally militarizing our police, and yet the authority of the government is the authority of we the people. And it's the way it's supposed to be, is that it cannot be possible for the state to have a right that we ourselves do not have. And this is this illusion which I believe needs to be shattered, okay? And it goes back into George Bush saying the Constitution is just this goddamn piece of paper. Because ultimately, how can we, if man cannot govern himself, this is a good TJ, if man could not govern himself, then how is it that we can expect us to be governed by other men?
Okay.
So, meaning that if I, as a person, cannot be trusted to have a gun, then how is it that we can expect to enforce that law by a bunch of guys with guns? Because ultimately that's the only way you can enforce that law, is by giving a bunch of people guns. Yet what are we talking about? People not being able to handle the responsibility which comes with owning guns. So it's a very human people problem, and again, it all comes down to civil society. It's eroding. You know what I mean? And the only thing that can, I don't know if anything can save it, but I'm gonna try. You know, because what's the alternative? Not trying. You know.
Right.
And I guess that's what I was interested in when I was doing drugs. But ever since I've made some of these, changes, I just said, hey, man, I've just got to try, and Crisis Club is here to encourage listeners to do the same.
I guess I just don't see this huge campaign to disarm America. I don't know what I'm missing. Maybe it's just because I don't care about that particular issue as much as a few other ones.
That's fine. And the cool thing is that I'm sure that there is something that you're passionate about, which really needs to be encouraged, and that Crisis Club can stand behind. You know what I mean? It's not going to be your agenda to get rid of people's guns, and not that I think that you have that agenda, because I think you've clearly stated that. You're not here to disarm us all, but no, as long as
pretty indifferent about the issue when it comes down to it.
I think we're here to basically, above all else, is stand up for essential civil liberties, and then aside from that, encourage people to do what they're passionate about in order to, save this fucking country, man.
Right. I guess the thing that bothers me about the gun debate, especially from the liberal camp, is, liberals always are very much the ones that bring up a people's environment to talk about their circumstance and say how it's not their fault,
Yeah.
But at some point, that argument completely disappears when it comes to the gun debate, because there are other countries where every single person in that country owns a gun.
Yeah.
And absolutely. They do not have the levels of violence that we do.
Nowhere near.
So, I think I had said this to you before, I don't think guns in and of themselves are inherently bad, or, guns being available causes, murder. I think it's, other societal issues, and guns just make it where you can expedite things that you would have done with a knife or a bat before,
Exactly.
But I don't think they're the problem. They're just an instrument,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
exactly.
I guess I'm a pretty pro-gun person when I put it that way.
Yeah, you look at, what is it? Switzerland. And, they don't just have guns. They have military-grade guns, grenades, and grenade launchers. And, and they're required to have these things in their home and know how to use them. And, that's the thing. That's why we have to be open-minded, because we're not Switzerland. You know what I mean? That would be, in my mind, that would be a horrible situation to start doling out rocket-propelled grenades and stuff like that to America, every household in America. I mean, and that's the shame of it. You know what I mean? Is that, I want my country to, have a high enough, to be held to a